Hey, what's up, everyone? I am Dan Lomar, CFP professional with United Wealth Management, where we specialize in PR management and financial planning for pilots at United Airlines. And like many of you, my business partner, Alan Bewley, and I are both pilots for United. Welcome back to another video. Last video I talked about 5 core strategies of generating a retirement income from a portfolio. I didn't go too deep. I kept it pretty high level and wanted to expand on that a little bit. The last strategy I talked about on that was called the total return approach, where we kind of combine all those strategies into generating a portfolio retirement income from a portfolio. So on this one, I wanted to kind of just give an example of what something that looks like. It's a little bit geeky. I'm going to use the spreadsheet that I created to kind of do this with. And it is it's a little bit geeky, but for those of you who are going to do this yourself, there's a lot of things to think about, and I just want to give you an example to kind of go off of, some things to think about. And if those of you who are looking to hire somebody or looking for advice on how to do this, again, lots of things to consider. You'll get a little bit some insight as to how we put all the parts, bits and pieces together. So that's what we're talking about today. Hey, if you haven't done it, remember to subscribe. Give me a thumbs up if you like the video, and share the video. Email it to your fellow pilots or share it on the Facebook forum or whatever, because those who are not watching it are probably the ones who need to watch it the most. Anyway, I appreciate that. And as always, this is not tax, legal, or investment advice. Talk to your own advisor or your own financial wisdom as to how these apply to you. All right, so let's get into it. Like I said, it's a little bit geeky because I'm using the spreadsheet I use, but again, just kind of want to show you how it all comes together for us. So I got a fictitious client here. I'm going to say they turned 62 today. They're retiring in 3 years. Their full retirement age for 67 for Social Security is 67. Their full retirement amount shown on their Social Security statement is $33.81. That means $40,572 a month. Their spouse is a couple years younger, just turned 60 a couple months ago. Full retirement age 67. Their Social Security benefit based on their working record is $1547 a month, $18,564 a year. That's their full retirement amount. And then again, the full retirement amount is what all of the Social Security benefits are based off of. Whether you take it early or whether you take it later, it's based off of that amount. The other thing I'll say about that is when you look at your Social Security statement and you see the full retirement amount, which is based on age 67, it assumes you're actually working and contributing to age 67. So that's not the case for most pilots. So you stop working at age 65. So just keep in mind that your Social Security benefit at age 67 is it might be a little bit less than what they've actually got stated on your benefits. Usually not significant, but just something to keep in mind there. I haven't taken that into account here. I just using what's on the benefit statement itself. Again, so their pilot's retiring at 65. That's 3 years away. It's 2027. And we're going to say the income bond ladder that we're going to be talking about starts in 3 years because that's when they're retiring. So that's the big picture. What I do in the spreadsheet here is I can enter a single Social Security amount, the full retirement amount and their full retirement age. I can enter a single amount in the spreadsheet, and then based on the formulas that Social Security provides, I've got some notes on here on how those are calculated, is that by entering a single number, I can calculate all the benefits based on various claiming ages. So it's super easy way for me, as long as I have that FRA number and age, super easy for me. I can enter one number and I get all the other statements. And from the statements I've seen, these numbers are spot on. PBGC is slightly a little bit different. There's no hard fast formula based on because there's different factors, survivor benefit factors more than anything, that play into account as to what your PBGC is going to be the more you delay. But as an example, this is pretty realistic though. So for this person, if they take it at 65, it's $32,450 per year. It goes up incrementally all the way up to age 70. It's $55,490 per year, and that's straight off their benefit statement. That's a 71% increase. Pretty good jump also from Social Security from age 67 to age 70. So when we talk to this person about what they want to do, being that there's a pretty good jump in Social Security here from $40,000 to $50,000, and in PBGC from 32 to 55, pretty good increase there. They're like, yeah, I am definitely interested in delaying PBGC and Social Security as long as possible. One of the things I talked about in that last video was using annuities to build an income floor. And essentially that's what we're doing, is by delaying these things is we're increasing the amount of benefit you're going to get. And it's essentially the same thing as building an annuity. So that's one of our main techniques. If we're going to use an annuity and income strategy, one of our main techniques that we're using is delaying Social Security and PBGC. Same thing for the spouse. This is the benefit full retirement age this is the benefit based off of spouse's working record. I can enter the amount, enter that amount in here, and again, it calculates everything else from that point forward. And then also the spouse's spousal benefit. So based off the primary earner's working record, is I can calculate what those things are going to be and provide a total benefit based off of various claiming ages for each one of them. The spouse does not have PBGC, so we're just going to say we'll keep it simple, no PBGC for the spouse. And then there's a place here too that we could put other spending goals if we wanted to see how that affects income strategy, the income amount. So right now I have got 0 in there, and just to keep the example simple, but I will come back and show you how much that changes things here in just a second. So just to show you, this is the portion where I can calculate the bond ladder. Okay, so how much am I going to put in individual bonds or CDs during the period in which Social Security and PBGC are being delayed? It looks at, so right now, because the person is 62 and they're retiring in 3 years, the first thing we do is build out a 3-year bond ladder. And the furthest we would go out is 5 years. The rest of the, we'll call it the delay strategy, is going to be built into ETFs. But I'll come back to that in just a second. So as you do this, this person can compare what that bond ladder looks like, what their retirement income is going to look like based off of different claiming ages. And so right now we've got age 70, but if we change this to age 67 and we change this to age 67, the calculation, the spreadsheet takes all that into account. As you can see, it delays, it changes the amount that we put into the bonds in the CD ladders because they're not delaying as long. So, but for right now, I just want to show you that, and that's at age 70. We're going to keep it age 70 for Social Security and PBGC. The spouse is going to file at age 67, so that's going to be a year earlier. That's in 2031. And then, but the spousal benefit is not going to kick in until 2032 because that's when the primary worker is going to be filing. So you can't claim spousal benefits until the primary worker has filed. So you got to take that into account. It's a small amount here. Sometimes it's a little bit bigger than that. And then again, no PBGC for the spouse. So what's it look like? So person's retiring in 3 years, and we want to, instead of taking Social Security PBGC in the year they're retiring, we want to delay it. So the amount we're going to delay for Social Security in year 1 is $50,309. For PBGC is $55,490. And then for Social Security 2, $18,564, and the spouse benefit $231. It all adds up to $124,000, $124,600. I'm going to change this a little bit. Here's your bond ladder right here. So we're just going to call it $125,000 per year that we're going to invest into individual CDs and bonds that mature at different ages. So we would have 3 years. We'd buy CDs and bonds that mature in 3 years for $125,000. We'd buy CDs and bonds for $125,000 that mature in 4 years, and another $125,000 in bonds that mature in 5 years. That doesn't completely push the delay strategy all the way out. We just don't like to build those ladders more than 5 years. We can. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just limiting it to a 5-year bond ladder for the point of discussion, and the rest of it in the what we'll call the delay bucket is going to be in exchange traded funds and bond exchange traded funds. So that's kind of the essence of what we're doing here. Is we're carving out a portion of the portfolio, we're taking it out, and we're building this bond CD ladder so that each bond or CD comes due for this amount in the year of retirement or the following year after, or the following year after. So remember, if you go back to the last video, I talked about the bucketing strategy where we segment portions of the income based on time horizon needs. Essentially, that's what we're doing. So we're combining using that bucketing strategy to kind of build this ladder out. So if we do that out, so our initial bond strategy, CDs, if we were going to do this today, so that they matured over 3, 4, 5 years from now, that initial amount is, we'll just call it down here, is $374,000, roughly speaking. Now, some might ask, hey, do I buy the face amount of the bond because there's a discount rate? In other words, that bond might mature at a higher rate. There's different things to factor into that. Look, we typically buy inflation-protected securities, so we would buy it at the face value of Social Security. We'd buy, say, a $51,000 in tips for Social Security because it's going to increase at the same rate Social Security goes up. PBGC is a little bit different. You could buy a little bit less because it's going to mature maybe at a face value that's a little bit higher. And again, PBGC doesn't change. Right now, I'm not worried about that. I'm just going to say we're buying bonds and CDs and creating this ladder based on the face value of each one of these bonds. I'm not worrying about the discount, what we call the discount rate right now. So overall, what we do is we build out this initially, we build out this 3-year ladder. What we would do a year from now is reevaluate the strategy, and we would probably add another $125,000 in bonds so that they would remature at age 68. And then we'd build another one 2 years from now, so they would mature at age 69. So you've got this 5 years of income built into the strategy so that it's ready to go in the year you retire and you can delay Social Security. That doesn't mean you can't always turn Social Security on early or PBGC on early. There's different factors that kind of play into it. But this is the plan, and that's what we're running with right now. Okay, so what does this all look like in the end? Kind of putting the whole thing together. Let's just say this person today, they have a $3 million portfolio. We call it the delay bucket. Okay, so we're using that bucketing strategy we talked about. We're using the delay bucket because that's the amount we're going to delay Social Security. Right now, that bucket is we'll call it $74,000. The cash reserve strategy, talked about that in the last video. We're going to carve out $100,000 just for sleeping good at night. We're not going to touch it. We're not going to include it in the portfolio. It's just set aside somewhere in their net worth for what ifs, emergencies, stuff like that. That can be anywhere. It could be in a savings account. It could be even in part of the account that we're managing or an IRA or something like that. But we're essentially what we're doing is we're just carving out $100,000 that we're just not even going to include in the plan. So when we subtract all of this out, we have what we call the remaining part of the portfolio. We call it the lifetime bucket. And that's because that is the amount left that we're going to create a sustainable retirement income from. The withdrawal rate. So this person, through discussion, through what their income needs are and their willingness to be flexible, they've decided that they're okay taking a 4.5% withdrawal rate from the portfolio. It's a little bit higher than what if you've heard of the 4% withdrawal rule. This is a little bit higher than that, but there's a lot of factors that play into that rule that may or may not apply to your situation. Anyway, long story short, we've decided on a 4.5% withdrawal rate. We've decided, because we are taking a little bit higher withdrawal rate, that we'd say, hey, look, if you're willing to be flexible, you can have that higher withdrawal rate. And flexible means if the portfolio goes down in value, you're willing to take a 5 to 10% pay cut or a 5% less withdrawal from the portfolio. So when you take 4% of $2.5 million, and we're talking round numbers here, the gross withdrawal from the portfolio, we'll just say it's $113,000. We have predefined limits based on this withdrawal rate. So we want to monitor this. And this is where this comes into monitoring the kind of little bit of the complexity of the portfolio. So you have to monitor what your withdrawal rate is going to be. So if the portfolio goes down and this amount becomes more than 5.4% of the portfolio, that would trigger an adjustment. And then if the portfolio goes up and this amount becomes greater than or less than 3.6% of the portfolio, hey, let's give a pay increase. Long story short, we have predefined guardrails that kind of establish those numbers. So even though there is some variation in income, the income increases and or decreases are not significant. It's acceptable. So it's not like a dividend only approach where we don't know what dividends are going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. Is we have some fairly defined parameters as to what our income is going to be based on portfolio performance. And again, this is a 5% withdrawal from the 5% adjustment from the withdrawal itself. It's not a 5% decrease or increase based on total income because we have other fixed income to take into account. All right, so that's the guardrail strategy. So let's look at what this looks like overall. Social Security benefit $50,309, spousal Social Security $23,919, PBGC is $55,490, total fixed incomes $128,818. Portfolio income, because it's 4.5% of what we've got left over, it's $113,679. Total gross income generated from both fixed income, delaying Social Security, and all that we estimate it to be $242,497. What it looks like in the stock portfolio, what you choose to go into retirement with as far as what your allocation is going to be, largely depends on your risk tolerance, your needs, a lot of factors, but this person has chosen to go into retirement with a portfolio allocation of 65-35, so 60% stock mutual funds, 35% cash, bond mutual funds. Those are what the numbers look like. We're going to carve out the delay bucket on there for the time being, and then the rest of the allocation would be basically 75% equities and 25% bonds. Again, the target allocation when you consider everything is still 65-35. This is going to drift over the next couple of years. It's going to drift in retirement. And that's just one more thing that we keep an eye on so that we keep things in our parameters. And then this goes back to the total return approach is if the equity side does well, we're going to actually replenish that cash that we need or build the next portion of the bond ladder with the equity side. If the equities don't do as well, we're going to take the income or build the next portion of the bond ladder with the bond ETFs. All right, so that's kind of what the allocation looks like. That's what the total income is we're looking like. All right, so the next question is the person says, well, look, this is great, but we didn't talk about the fact that we want to spend $20,000 the first 2 years in retirement. Let's write this number down here first, 242, 497. And so we want to spend some money early in retirement. And so we can carve that out of the portfolio. We want to spend $20,000 a year for the first 2 years and for traveling, and we know for sure we're going to need to buy a car in year 2. And so we're carving out another $90,000 that we're going to build into that bond ladder, okay? Because we don't want that to be subject to investment risk. So again, part of the bucketing strategy, we build that out there. It's another $90,000. We take that out of the core amount of part of the portfolio. What does that do to retirement income? All right, nothing changes. It makes our lifetime bucket a little bit smaller. 4% of that is a little bit less. And it decreases your annual retirement income about $4,000 from $242,497 to $238,447. So again, that just gives the person an idea that, hey, if we do take this lump sum out of the portfolio, then what does that do to our ongoing income? And so you can really kind of segment out different, not just delaying Social Security, but you can really start to segment out other spending needs during the early years of retirement. And that's a good strategy because most people want to spend more in the early years. And the strategy, the guardrail strategy, it lends itself well to doing that. So, hey, look, I know there's a lot going on. I know this is a geeky spreadsheet, but that's the way I think. This is what I do on layovers. This is the way my mind thinks. And if this is something you're doing on your own, I just hope this gives you some ideas of things that you should be thinking about. And if you don't want to do this on your own, give us a call. Let's sit down and talk about how we can create a retirement income strategy for you. So anyway, hey, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate your positive feedback. That goes a long way. I totally appreciate that. And if you haven't done it, remember to like, subscribe, share the video, and till next time, fly safe.